I did not expect it to be more flat.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, ironically,
I like it though.
Being metal, it's kind of it is weird. It totally hits different.
I definitely do feel like more higher status when I drink it for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Same. It's bougie because it is expensive as shit.
It looks like it.
Yeah. Like I mean, it
Luxury.
makes Evian and like Fiji even look like Nestle Pro Life and or not Pro Life, Pure Life. Nestle Pro Life.
Not the disclaimer.
Right. I'll say I have no idea what Nestle's
stance on
abortion is. Yeah. I mean,
I would assume that they are pro-life, but
they might be pro-life, or no. Hershey would be pro-life because they're in Pennsylvania.
Are they?
And not in the hip happening parts of Pennsylvania. They're in the middle.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Nestle on the other. Well, actually, I think Hershey bought out Nestle. Now that I think about it.
I wish I knew, but I know that all those companies are evil, but they probably do drink liquid death.
They probably do.
Have you watched The Unexplained with William Shatner?
No.
You should watch it. It's actually been my binge episode TV show right now on Netflix. And it's basically just like history, but it's also like science. And it's just, normally I find those things boring, but the way that they frame it, the way that they set it up is actually super interesting. It's got me invested in pirates, treasure hunting. And now I feel like I don't quite understand evolution anymore. I thought I understood evolution, but now the idea that like animals developed traits over time to accommodate what they needed doesn't make sense to me anymore. But also I'm not religious, so now I don't know what to think.
Right. I keep constantly saying, like, how long does it take for like a genetic evolution to happen and actually take effect?
Right.
Because I mean, like, honestly, what is the point of male pattern baldness? What does that actually, and as somebody who is deeply suffering from it, what is the purpose?
The only thing I can think of is that maybe it would like reflect, but even then that's not something that we're not using it to its full capacity. So I don't necessarily think that happened from evolution.
Yeah. Or like the idea of there's no way that cavemen snored. Snoring was
that was a thing. They said that.
There's no,
you're saying that.
Think about it. There's no way, because I mean, before civilization, before humans actually like built communities and all this stuff, they were out there just like all other feral animals. And the whole idea is you're trying to not alert predators to your presence. And what could be more alerting to a predator than?
So you think that they didn't snore but you can't really control it.
You can't. And again,
don't you have sleep apnea?
Yeah.
Do you snore?
Yes. And it's weird. It's such a high snore too. It's like way higher register. Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
I feel like when I sleep next to somebody, I'm more conscious that they're there, and I feel like I'm quieter and I like sleep condensed, so I don't like bother them for some reason. So maybe that's possible.
Right. Yeah. When I do have to share a bed, that's the one and only time I'm actually good at sleeping on my side, because that helps a little bit. Because like sleep apnea, it's not so much like I even joke in my set that it's about being fat. It's not about being fat. It's actually
a disability.
So it's like depending on your jaw, depending on how your jaw sits, and if it's low or if it's heavy or whatever, it will, if you like sleep on your back especially, it when all your muscles relax, your jaw sinks so far that it cuts off your esophagus, so that you're literally choking yourself.
Did you know that you were choking yourself in your sleep, or you had to get the sleep test to know that you were doing that?
Well, yeah, I didn't know what sleep apnea was. My mom had just always told me I snored. Yeah, because that's like sleep apnea is when you like straight up die in your sleep, and then you have that.
So that would happen to you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so
doesn't who's the tall basketball player? Shaq. Does he have sleep? He has sleep apnea, doesn't he?
I almost couldn't imagine how he couldn't.
Now I feel like I have sleep apnea, but it's like one of those things, like everybody thinks they have autism now.
Yeah.
And I probably have it too.
I've been told the last couple of months by a lot of people that I have it.
Everybody's catching it.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the air.
Every time I start getting a little, the word you used was neurodivergent. Whenever I start getting a little excited, I feel like my tism's kicking in, because truly, like, especially with how particular I am about like my OCD and stuff, I'll be like, is that a me flaw? That's just my tism kicking in.
Yeah, right.
People can't get mad at you if it's a disability.
Yeah, and actually, I even started writing this a bit. So mental health awareness and autism awareness, I love and I hate that it's been brought to the forefront because of RISM. Because with RISM came the tism.
RISM?
Yeah, RISM, like Riz. Like, yeah, people use those pretty interchangeably now. Or
What's
well,
Riz?
not interchangeably.
What's RISM?
So Riz.
Oh, like.
No, Riz, like the sex appeal, all that.
Oh,
so people
like
say that,
the grease,
and
like
then
grease.
Just because they wanted to rhyme something or whatever, I don't know how, but somehow those two words hit the American vernacular around the same time. Like they both rose to the top, and I'm looking back in my life now, because again, enough people recently have like hinted at me of like, hey, dude, you are autistic. And I was like, I'd rather find out from a medical professional and not.
Aren't we all?
Yeah,
a little bit. That'd be my response, I guess.
But yeah,
we're all on the spectrum, buddy.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, but then now that I'm thinking about it, I'm looking back in my life, and I'm thinking about how many possible altercations that, like, especially as someone that has always spoken sarcastically my whole life. There's now wait, do I actually not have a good grasp on sarcasm? And it's like, if that's the case, then I've just been an asshole to people since I was 15.
So I'm somebody who actually doesn't always read sarcasm well. And you've probably seen me do it before, where you've like used your sarcasm at me and I'm like, oh, that's a cool thing. And you're like, no, no. I have a hard time reading it. It's like when it's a dry delivery, that's what it is for me, because like I need that tone to know that we're joking. I'm like, I like look over and I'm like,
or like a really exaggerated face or something.
Yeah, you got to be careful, because people's parents really could be dead, and you can't just be making fun of it. But then again, my friends would want me to make fun of it. Yeah, like it's weird to not make fun of your trauma.
Yeah. Oh, I literally have a second job because of that.
Exactly. Yeah. Monetize it. Monetize your trauma.
And it is such a compliment when like comics come up to me afterwards and they're like, "Hey, don't ever tell that story again."
You
like,
should.
I loved a couple of the punchlines of it, but the whole thing, like, I don't ever want to hear that again.
Was there a specific example? I want to know what comic came up to you, because if a comic has to tell you not to say something, what did you say?
So
there's like some things are better for skits in South Park.
Right. Leave it to.
But also,
Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
I thought it was weird that when I remember I had like a baby book, and it, you post your pictures and the weight and the fingerprints and stuff. And there was one section where it was a bag and it had my umbilical cord in it. Oh my God. The original umbilical cord, and it was Nature's literally calamari. Like it so disgusting. I didn't know what it was, and it literally looked like a disgusting dried raisin in a bag. Who the fuck keeps that? Some people would eat that, but like
that is a thing.
Why would you keep that? Like what value is it sitting in a book, crusty like a scab?
Right.
I want to know where it is to this day.
Like, why are they out there selling that shit?
Yeah, like, that could have been sold for research.
I'll say, in this economy, like a couple bucks. That's a gallon of gas in the tank.
Well, that was my parents. They didn't think economically enough. That's why we grew up poor.
Yeah,
because they didn't think to sell my umbilical cord for research and science, or make me a child actor. That could have gone a long way.
Yeah,
but no.
No.
Too busy cheating on each other. That's a whole other thing.
I'll say they didn't have the goal to like make you a child actor so that you could then play your mom in a story about people cheating on each other the whole time.
Literally, she wouldn't have been for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what she would have done, but she thinks she's the main character. But I think we all think we're the main character.
Yeah.
Would you feel like you're the main character?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like that too.
Well, let's put it this way. I felt that way, and then I finally accepted the fact that I'm like a reoccurring guest at best.
I feel
in
like
my own life.
I feel like I have to like mentally put myself in a guest spot, like or like a supporting role spot, especially like when I'm like around bigger personality. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to compete. I'm not a competitive person. So if somebody's louder than me, I won't be competing against them. I would much rather just like be quiet because me yelling doesn't help anything. People yelling over other people is nonsensical.
Right.
And I can't like, I will be the first to take a step back and be like, last time I went to like the Newark station, their music was so loud inside of their establishment that we were sitting at a table that was like smaller than this, like the width. It was a round table and it was like 4 of us around the table and everybody's yelling at each other across this 2 to 3 feet table. And I'm like, my tism started kicking in and I had to like step away to the bathroom and I was just like, I came back out and everybody's still yelling. And I'm like, I'm going to go step outside because truly like, how do you guys not feel this? But again, the tism kicking in.
Right.
The sensory overload, which is why I don't really go out much anymore. Because it's just like,
yeah, same.
So many people all at once, but I have to turn the switch on and mingle once in a while because you can't meet new people if you don't go out and do something every once in a while. But you also have to put yourself in a like-minded place with like-minded people.
Right.
So that's the recipe, I think.
Yeah. Yep. The last couple of years, especially like, and again, I don't know if this is some late stage tism or not, but the social anxiety, sensory overload is like it's a huge thing. Also, back to the tism. Once again, I'm doing like the whole life review thing the last couple of weeks. Currently, I'm also thinking how many times the tism got in the way of my rhythm. Like how many?
But also, if you would have just owned the tism, it could have boosted the rhythm.
It could have.
Now it's in. Technically, it's in, so you could use it to your advantage.
Tism
now that
so
it's so cool, it is. It's cool. It's the hottest thing since freaking sliced bread. Everybody loves it. Like, and you go on TikTok, and the next person.
But only diagonally sliced bread because up horizontally or vertical, it messes with me. It's got to be diagonal.
See, ladies. No, but truly, it is. It does feel like.
Do you want us to assign someone to slice your bread diagonally?
I need to see the new Mean Girls, but I'm also scared because it's a musical. I've heard it's good though.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm sure it would be, but it's like it didn't really need to be remade.
I agree.
But then again, I feel like that about a lot of movies.
Yeah, I off the top of my head, I almost can't even think of a movie that was remade where afterwards I was like, you know what? Yeah, this needed it. Most of the time, like that's like almost going into like a therapy thing of like sometimes the thing that's like beautiful about something in the past is because it is the past,
right?
And like that's what makes it good. It's better in your memory than it probably is now in real life. That
movies and like film and TV shows and things like that is where the age gap resonates with me. You know how like parents didn't like when you grew up with your parents, they hear your music and they're like, that's garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I am now, I think, with movies. And I am like constantly living in the age of the 2000s comedies. And I'm like, nothing hits it on the head like Little Nicky and White Chicks and things like that. But you can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Right.
No, it's not going to be funny to people anymore.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to admit that it's funny.
Exactly.
But also it makes everybody uncomfortable. And then you feel that everybody's uncomfortable. And then you feel bad about whether or not you feel uncomfortable. And it's a whole thing. But it's hard. Now it's almost it's harder to be a comedian now, I think, in a way, because you kind of have to be sensitive, but not be sensitive in a like way that meshes in the middle.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, like basically like 2010s through like the 20s, that was like the real, that was comedy finally understanding that sometimes it gets too offensive, and then they toned it back. And then these last couple years, now we have a way of comics fighting back against that. And like, so yeah, right now is such a good time in comedy because we're kind of right in the middle. Like we're not being blatant, we're not blatantly punching down anymore. Like minus one famous one. that's famous for punching down. But besides him, besides Mr. Chappelle, I'll say his name. He's not gonna fucking listen to this podcast. Are you kidding me?
He loves local podcasts.
Yeah. Watch, this is this is the one and only episode he listens to.
We're like right in his neighborhood, so
yeah,
probably.
Yeah. But no, we're like right in a sweet spot now where we still push the envelope, but now we're at least aware of hey, when we do it, make sure that you're not punching down, that you're punching up, or just side, doing swings across the middle. That's the thing. There's the too soon jokes. In the days of Twitter. Sorry, the artist formerly known as Twitter.
X. I don't use Twitter, so
I don't.
It's
either.
Twitter to me.
I don't. Yeah, it's plus what do you call the act of uploading on X? Because with Twitter, you were tweeting.
X, I feel is associated with X-rated content, and also Elon Musk is weird and obscure about these. Why does everything have to be steel and wood or W? Why can't you just leave it?
I don't know. I do not know the.
If you're going to rebrand it, do it right.
Right.
But back to the comedy thing, I was actually going to ask you your take on the Matt Rife cancellation thing. Are comedians everywhere excited about this?
So yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag on our end too, because there's a couple of people, and I'll even say at one point in time I even fit in this camp of the whole oh, you only got that way because he's pretty. Now he's put in time. A lot of people don't know, he started in Columbus back in 2013, maybe?
Funny Bone and
when
stuff?
He was a kid. Yeah, he would do the open mics there.
Mm-hmm.
Went out to California. Put in some time out there. Got the Wild In and Out gig. No, he's done his dues. He didn't literally just
jump to fame.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where it's annoying that he's pretty too. But it was even more annoying that he was I just hate that I'm pretty. I hate all my fans are girls.
Yes.
And it was one of those things. That was when I was
that was something of his I definitely didn't like. And then when you do know your fan base and then you blatantly turn against them as an artist, that's just not cool. Even if you are doing what comedians are supposed to do, which is freedom of speech kind of thing. So he's allowed to say that, but you also have to, and that's just the whole big art argument that everybody has over freedom of speech nowadays. You can say whatever you want, but do not be surprised when you get consequences that you don't like because of the thing you said.
Dixie Chicks, for example.
Yes.
People are still mad, and they will never not be mad.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Some things can be forgiven and some things can't. And I actually just recently did a lot of research into this Dixie Chicks things because obviously I came back to country radio. And the previous owner was don't play the Dixie Chicks ever. Do not play them. I don't want to hear them on my station.
Right.
Well, there's a new owner now. And the new owner, I don't know necessarily where he stands politically. And that's honestly how it should be. So I'm here for it. Mm-hmm. But he's not against bringing them back because he's all for let's play the hits. He's more into the music research. And if that's what people want to hear, let's play it.
Yeah.
Well, then I was hanging out with some friends of mine who they're in the military, and I didn't really think about it. And we were trying to pick karaoke songs. We were doing karaoke at my house, and I thought that they would know a Dixie Chicks song. So I was sing the Dixie Chicks. And she was I hate the Dixie Chicks. And I was what? Why? And I was she's because they hate the military. And I was what do you mean they hate the military? So I started researching what did they actually say. And what they said was they went overseas, and then they went in front of a British audience, and they said, we don't agree with this war. And we're ashamed that the president of the United States is from Texas. And that's really all they said is that they don't agree with the war. So I can understand you don't support the troops. That means you don't agree, that you don't think that the military should fight for our freedoms. You're ungrateful. Screw you. But what they didn't really consider when they did that was same thing as Matt Rife, that your audience is mostly conservative. Mm-hmm. So by saying that, you just shot yourself in the foot. Now, how'd your audience been more mixed or more generally liberal, you probably would have been fine. But what people also didn't like was that they went overseas and did it, and they thought that that was cowardly, that they wouldn't say it in their home country.
True.
To their face. Say it to her face.
That part I do agree with, because your freedom of speech as an American, in theory, should only happen when you're on American soil, because now you're on a work visa essentially overseas, so you're under the Queen's rule and everything for that brief period of time. So yeah, that part I agree with, but ultimately, yes, what they said about like not supporting the war, like I have this argument with my mom all the time about like Starbucks. Because like Starbucks apparently was like anti-troop for a while, and yeah, so
just like their coffee.
Same. But again, it's not that they are anti-troops, because they employ a lot of veterans that return from the army. They don't support the wars they fight. And what else would you expect from a company from Seattle? The whiniest group of hipsters.
They have a hard time
ever.
figuring out which side to be on anyways.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, so that's and with the Dixie Chicks again, my whole thought was, I was like, no, they don't support the war itself. I didn't remember them saying anything blatantly like, yeah, and fuck the troops to fight them. No, they never said that.
But it also didn't help their case when they went on Rolling Stone like a year later naked and branded themselves as victims. They like put like liar and like traitor and stuff like that all over their body. And then people were even more mad. It's like, honestly, you should have just been like, I'm sorry, and moved on. But I think that they haven't been able to really come back. They're still trying to make music. But I think that at the end of the day, you just kind of got to think about what you're saying.
Right.
And who your audience is. But freedom of speech it's our right.
Yeah, it is.
But it is like
you
said, the consequences. And people, I think that's I'm on like double-sided with cancel culture, because it's like cancel culture is essential to show people how to be held accountable for their actions. But at the same time, it does get out of hand to a point where it's like, when you bring up stuff that's so many years old, like when does it become forgivable? And that's the same thing with the Dixie Chicks, is like, this happened in 2004.
Right.
It is 20 years. Yes. How long do they have to be traitors for, And also George Bush isn't even the president anymore.
No, there's been 3 other presidents since then.
And we're still mad at him.
Yeah. And which here's the thing. Yeah. 20 years later, we've had a lot of time. Like, here's the thing. George W. Bush was a genuinely dumb person.
After he became president, I ended up loving how dumb he was, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was dumb that he was our president, but something about him is just like lovable.
Yeah, he's got
just a little dumb.
He's got that scamp face.
He just knows he's not qualified to be president. I think that's what it is. I think even Trump thought he was more qualified.
His face looks like the Kevin James meme. Like that's his cheekbones are just Kevin James's shoulders.
Yeah, he looks like he's like best friends with Mr. Burns. I don't know what it is. But like as time went on, I only hated George Bush when I was in 4th grade, because my parents hated George Bush when I was in 4th grade. Yeah. I was just like, I like John Kerry, and I didn't even know who that was.
Right.
All I know is 2 white people running for president. But
yeah,
George Bush, after time, I was like, man, I miss him, and I don't know what it is. He's just a little dumb Texan, and I just love him. I would hang out with him.
Right.
I'd smoke with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he would hit the blunt.
Yeah, he would. I mean, that was the end of the second Harold Kumar movie. I think was they somehow landed on his ranch in Texas, and then he's like, "You boys want to smoke?"
I think that's actually what convinced me to like him, because in my mind, that is who George Bush is, and I felt like that. Like when South Park does a parody on somebody, and you're like, "How is that so spot on?" Even though that's ridiculous.
Kanye.
That's literally it. And the same thing with like Britney Spears, and some of them have just been like, that's terrible, but that's so spot on.
Jennifer Lopez.
That one's not spot on, but I feel like that's what she's like when the cameras aren't around.
Yeah.
With Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Everybody says that's why he's so miserable. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that's just Ben. I feel like he's just like.
I think he goes on too many Dunkin' runs, and then they always just catch him on like the caffeine, like come down.
That's fair.
Like, yeah. I mean, the dude's like, he drinks like 4 Dunkin' coffees every morning. And yeah, they probably just get him around like, 2:00 when it's wearing off.
And they're like, that's J-Lo's fault.
Yeah.
I think he's fine. He's with J-Lo.
Yeah. I'll say, I mean, he's still finding a lot of work in movies. Like, yeah, he's good.
Who's a actor that you want to see come back to movies or TV shows, or like that you just haven't seen in a while that you've been thinking of recently?
Well, I mean, for years the go-to answer on that was Brendan Fraser, but I mean he's
made his comeback.
He's coming back.
You manifested that.
Yeah,
you have to manifest a new one now.
Let's see, manifest a new one. Okay, Rick Moranis.
I know the name. What's he from?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh my gosh, yes. What's he up to?
Spaceballs, the Flintstone movie.
What's he doing nowadays?
Well, he had like family issues, and he just stepped away from acting to take care of his family. But
yeah, there's really not a lot of news on him. Frankie Muniz was for a while mine, but I don't think he's coming back to acting.
He's NASCAR.
He's now. NASCAR.
Yep.
We do NASCAR on our radio stations, in Daytona 500 is this Sunday. And I shared the thing about him being a NASCAR driver and talked about it on the air today, but it was just, I knew that for a while he was doing race car driving, but it wasn't necessarily NASCAR at that time. And now I'm like, how do you just wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna race cars, go fast?
Yeah.
He watched Cars and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I've never seen Cars 2 or 3.
I maybe saw each one time, but I mean, yeah, that first Cars movie. I remember seeing some comment or whatever. It was like, you'll be scared to meet my dad. He's a big Cars guy, and then he's like, meets his dad. It's like, let's talk about one of Pixar's finest creations.
That's the only thing I know about Cars.
Yeah. But yeah, good on him though for finding his passion. And there's a great episode about Frankie Muniz joining NASCAR and about the Daytona 500 on the Above the Yellow Line podcast. Call back to a previous episode.
Ooh.
Yep. Give Taylor Kitchen a listen. Listen to her podcast. She goes in on it.
I'll have to listen to that.
Yeah. So actually, as you said before, so you got back into country DJing for radio. So first, talk about what was it like just starting the first time you
like how did I get into it?
Yeah, how'd you get in?
So when I was like, I actually started when I was like 19, so like fresh out of high school, and my stepdad actually did the janitorial over there. They just had like a cleaning service, and he happened to know that they were hiring and just thought like as a part-time gig, and he was like, you should apply for it. And I was like, I don't like country music. That sounds dumb. But like they just really needed somebody to do board opping. So like the sports broadcast that we do, they need like somebody to be in the board. And whenever the cue is given, they have to like fire the commercials. That's how they get their money. Mm-hmm. And I did that for a while. And then really eventually after a while, like just started saying yes to like every opportunity that they would offer me. Now I was at OSUN doing school, and then I was also working at Panda Express. So I was working both jobs and then going to school full time. So I couldn't do everything, but there was also like not really, it wasn't like initially as an on-air gig or anything like that. There wasn't any promise to be on air. But then we had a Christmas party, and at the Christmas party they had karaoke, and I think it was either like I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor or Respect by Aretha Franklin. Either way, great songs, powerhouse songs. And I like sang, and like I'm very shy, and that when I'm around people I don't know, especially if they're older, and especially if I don't know what I'm talking about, I tend to be reclusive. So nobody really thought much of me because I'm just quiet. I just listen. I don't contribute much to the conversation other than what was being asked of me. So I was just quiet little Kelsey. Yeah. And so when I sang, it was like my boss at the time was like, who is that? Who are you? And I was like, I just like to sing. And then, so I think at that point they were like, well, maybe like we should try putting her on air and see like what happens. So they were like, they had me practice doing voice tracking. They had me practice voicing commercials. I they had a contest where we had to do they actually challenged the whole staff, and they said, we're doing a commercial contest, and we're doing a prize for best commercial composed and a prize for the most. And you had to do a minimum of 40 total to qualify. Nobody took it seriously except for me. I was the only person. I ended up doing 55 practice commercials, and everybody else did maybe 10, maybe 15. And So I won that contest from just doing the most. And I just got a lot of practice under my belt by doing that. Then it's really one of those scenarios where like once people leave, then it opens up opportunities for you. And that was what had happened was I had been doing it for so long. And then when I graduated college, I was about 3 years in at that point, and the girl who had done the middays left. And then they brought me in to take not just her spot, but to do other things. And like the role I was brought in as the first time around after being part-time for 3 years, the full-time offer was a assistant program director. And that was basically like the assistant to the, what is it?
Assistant to the
regional manager.
Assistant to the assistant regional manager.
Yeah, basically it was kind of what it felt like. So for like 2 years, year and a half or so, I was basically being the program director's kind of like second person in charge. But it kind of got to the point where it was like more and more work kept being asked of me. And I felt like the pay wasn't there. And then at one point I like got sick. I got the flu really bad. I came back and they were like, you did, and like you bounced back so well that like we recognize that and we want to like bump up your pay. And then they bumped up my pay and it was like only 1,000 more on the year. Now, granted, I was only making like 35K already. So that didn't really mean much. So it's kind of like a kick in the shin or balls, or whatever you want to be kicked in. And then I had found out that one of my subordinates, who was a male who I could write up, was making the same amount of money as me. And that didn't sit right with me. And I never confronted anybody about it because I technically probably wasn't supposed to know that. It wasn't really my business. You're not supposed to talk about wage gap, but what people don't know is it's not illegal to talk about your pay with other people. They just don't want you to do it because there's the thing is there might be reasons why people are being paid a certain amount. Some people don't negotiate higher pay. And I know I didn't when they first offered me that pay because it was my first full-time job out of college. It was my first salary job. And my parents told me that was good. Now, granted, they're poor, but they didn't know. So 35,000 sounds good, but that was for me living at home at the time. Yeah. And then once I moved out, I was like, oh, now I'm like breaking even on my bills. So then I had started, honestly, I didn't think I was going to have more opportunities or an opportunity to gain more pay. And it felt like, again, one of those scenarios where somebody was either going to have to die or get fired. And with where the staff was at that time, everybody had been there 5+ years. Everybody who's there now has been there 10, 15+ years at this point. So it's like nobody's really even left since then, except for now it's under new management and new ownership. So that was basically how I went into it the first time. I left and went to door-to-door sales for 10 months, not knowing I was going into door-to-door sales, and then decided to do staffing for 3 years, which was my nice exposure to a normal like 9-to-5 desk job, but just hated it. And then now I'm back into it, now making a more livable wage, but now it's just different because I feel like there's just a different respect. The management's different. The owner before, I don't know that he viewed me in as high of a light as the owner now does. I feel like the owner now sees like potential in me and is like, I'm going to take advantage of this. And I think that I kind of negotiated that because I originally had to kind of negotiate my salary a little bit with the role, because technically for the role that I'm in, if you compare it to like a normal general salary for this type of role, it's actually way under it. But you got to keep in mind that this is a local radio station. So you're not going to get like $100,000 a year for an operations manager, if you will. But I basically was like, one of the points that I told him is, I'm young. I have no kids. I have no significant other, and I don't really drink. So like, as far as like, you have me, once you have me, you have me. So like, once I'm in, I'm in. Yeah. And that's why I'm asking for more, because I'm going to give this 110%. I don't want to feel like those tougher days are not worth it. If I'm making a little bit more, then those tougher days are going to be worth it. But if I'm making just enough to make ends meet, I'm going to be like, man, this isn't worth it. So that's basically the long story short story. Yeah.
No, hey. Yeah, I remember because first time I had heard you, and it might have been, and especially the way you just broke it down there, this was probably in that whole testing out your radio presence.
I did the weekends for a long time.
Yeah, you were doing an interview, I think, at like a 4-H something or other.
I was probably doing the fair reports.
Fair reports.
Oh my gosh.
And here's again, I don't want to say this with any kind of offense, but like at one point, I could just in the tone of your voice, I could hear your eyes rolling in your voice.
Probably. And the thing is like when you go to those fairs, they just say you have 10 reports to do, 60 seconds. Here's the sponsors. Mention the sponsors. Don't talk about food. They tell you to go to the fair and they said, don't talk about food. You can mention food, but like they said, don't go to every food vendor and be like corn on a stick. But like, that's what I want to hear about. But that's not like what the fairs are about. It's about like the kids in the 4-H club who come to show their chickens and stuff. That's why everybody goes to the fairs.
Of course. And not because cheese on a stick and
food.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, I think you were, I'm trying to remember what animal it was. I think it was
probably a chicken or a goat.
Goat. It was a goat. And admittedly, I was like, I'm sure Kelsey would just rather not talk to the kid and just like play with the goat for like 3 minutes.
I love goats. They're probably if I have a favorite farm animal, it's goats. There's just something hilarious about them. I've always wanted to do goat yoga. I don't know that would necessarily do anything for me like in my physical health, but mental health, yeah. Let a goat jump on me.
Right around the time my most recent ex cheated on me, I had like messaged her about like, hey, bring me to your next goat yoga. Like I've not done yoga, but like I want my first time doing yoga. I want goats involved.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my first times, I want goats involved.
That's a flex.
Yeah.
Like that's the best kind of yoga there would be. And honestly, it feels like it's not something you can really get around here. So we'll have to go to her goat yoga.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Crash.
We should just show up. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll wear matching outfits
as goats.
Yeah.
We're the goats.
But yeah, so then also as you said earlier, so you're an avid karaoke fan. Actually, you might be the biggest fan of karaoke I've ever met. Like you actually have your own like legit setup in your garage.
That
had a couple karaoke parties.
There's a reason for that. It's honestly like how Catz just happened upon me. Like I love Catz, but like I've really tried to associate away from that identity because growing up I was like the cat girl in school because my parents had like 20 cats. But anyways, we're talking about karaoke. But
that needs to be a thing if it's not already.
That's like goat yoga, but cats on karaoke.
Yeah.
Honestly, a flex. I don't know that they like all the noise, but
well, no, I mean, but like getting to like hold the cat and like use the cat in with the song and everything. Yeah, that'd be great.
I don't know that the cats would like it, but it could be a thing. You could train the cats.
They would like it for a couple of seconds and then
they'd be like, we're leaving. Yeah. We're leaving. But karaoke, my parents used to DJ and do karaoke. Like they used to have, that's why they have their own setup, but it was all CD based at the time. Mm-hmm. So it's like you had a book, write down your code, hand them the code. We got to look up the CD and pop it in.
Right.
But it was always nice because that's how I kind of learned how to sing. My dad was in a band growing up, so he had like audio equipment in his back room. So I always had access to a microphone one way or another. So I've always said that my destiny is to be behind a microphone. I just feel like I can't avoid it, which I'm totally okay with. But
the irony of this situation, not lost on anybody.
Yes, I've always said that I like want to get a tattoo of like an old timey microphone. I just do like, I'm so picky about the art of tattoos that it's like, and I know that what I want is going to cost money. And instead of spending money on tattoos, I'd rather just travel. So it all comes down to that. But with my parents and their karaoke business, it was nice because we either had it in our basement, we would have it in the garage. But it's nice also because you always have free karaoke whenever you want to have a shindig.
Right. My dad, he was also a DJ and also CD based. Like that's how I stumbled upon all of my musical taste was once I finally was broken of the country mold. I just ran through all my dad's like rock and like metal CDs and all that stuff. But yes, no, I understand the whole like having just multitudes and multitudes of music and sound equipment at my disposal. And yeah, once again, like once I started getting in bands like in high school, always had microphones, always had stands, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
The karaoke side though, but
how long they do karaoke for?
Oh, I said no. They weren't on the karaoke side.
They just had it.
Yeah, they didn't have karaoke at all. I actually I looked down on karaoke for a long time.
A lot of people do, especially like real musicians.
As a real musician, I was going to I went to school to be an opera singer. Like I could not have seen karaoke as any more than just peasant trash. But
that's how it makes me sad that people are like that.
Well, but I I told the entire story, I think, on the Layla Ingalls episode. So go back and listen to that. But yeah, long story short, I got really blackout drunk while karaoke was in the establishment. So I went up there, I sang, I was incoherent. It was a video, someone literally carrying me off the stage. And again, as a opera singer, I was like, I cannot stand for this. I can't believe there are people out there that think that that's the best I can sing. I'm going to karaoke and I'm going to prove everyone I can fucking sing. And I did. And then the rest is history.
That's what I love about karaoke too, is it's like a non-serious way to like sing too, because I'm one of those people who doesn't take it that seriously. Like I feel like I have a pretty good voice and people always be like, you should sing professionally. And I'm like, maybe. But like, then if it's a job, then I guess it doesn't become as fun anymore. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. And I feel like I don't want to like strive and starve for the gig of being a singer. But like, if it was a perfect world, I would have all the equipment to be able to learn how to like produce my own music. Cause that would be like the ultimate dream. But that's like, I haven't gotten to the investment money mm-hmm. part. And again, it comes down to paying my debts and then also traveling, because I've decided that what fulfills me in life and what keeps me from depression is my next vacation. What place in the world am I going to see next? Mm-hmm. And that's what I've decided keeps me going. So I don't know where that was going back to, but.
Being a karaoke host formerly, like you host a karaoke, I know, cause I took the torch after you left. Mm-hmm. And then I had fun hosting the karaoke. And then the moment I stopped and then I went to karaoke just as a singer, I was like, oh yeah, why did I ever host? Like,
yes, that's no how I was.
There's no responsibility.
I think they asked me to do it again and I said no.
Yeah, because they would never contact me again after I burned that bridge. So they
that must have been what it was. And that's how they ended up with who they have now. But it's not like it. And honestly, like it was fun, but I didn't do it for the money. I did it because it was like fun. I did a good job at it. But one thing about me is that I'm such a perfectionist, and because I take everything so seriously, which is my own flaw. It's a great thing and it's also a bad thing. But because I take it so seriously, I never had fun. Like I had fun, but I didn't have fun because I was worried about the structure. I was worried about the order of the songs. I was worried about who's the next person who's going to get in.
You had fun when it worked.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing is I'm not a sound equipment person, and who knew if the mics were going to be there, if the cord was going to be there. No.
Oh yeah.
And then it makes you look like a jackass and everybody thinks it's your fault. That was the most stressful thing about it. And I think that's what made me like not want to go back at the end of the day.
I would have to like tell people, it's like, hey, I don't know shit about sound. I'm working it out the best I can. Like, I mean, it was like a group effort at some point.
Why wasn't there a preset or something that like we could have just like saved there? I know that in that app somewhere there was they could have just done that. But like, that's the thing is like every time you got the iPad, there was something different about it.
Yep.
Extra channels, different labels, because it was for whatever show was there previously.
Right.
But they just weren't that organized, and that's just, it is what it is. But it sucks when you're organized and you can't control the chaos. Mm-hmm. And so it just doesn't make it worth it. And then the other thing was that I work mornings. You work mornings. Mm-hmm. Going to bed after midnight is like, are you trying to kill me?
Yep.
I am almost 30 and I can't deal with that.
Right. Yeah. And like looking back, I mean, because heck, like half of the payment was just basically a couple free drinks too. And like, I would do that. Then I'd always go over. So, I was always buying like 2 of my own too. And cause I used to like not know how to like be a social butterfly, be an entertainer without drinking. Mm-hmm. So I was doing irreparable damage to my body. and then going to sleep at like 1:30 at night, because then I would still hang out with like the couple people that closed down with
because you
us.
wanted to, and also they wanted you to, so you felt guilty too, but then the next morning you regretted it.
Right. So like I said, it's and again, I am someone that like I stress so much about the structure of things, of order, of keeping like a flowing thing. Like I know, like I produce most of my own comedy shows now, so like it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of another, basically going from karaoke to doing comedy shows. But yeah, it's one of those, like I have fun when all of it pays off, when things do
work out.
Same with like road trips or vacations. Like I get immense joy out of the plan coming together.
That's how it was on our most recent vacation. It was like something, why is it all going so smooth? It was weird because that's not how my life goes. I truly think that I have like the Yelnats family curse. And I always like say that, like, if I was on Drag Race, they always have an opening line, and my opening line would be, my family's cursed, because that's literally how I feel all the time, is that my family's cursed. And I measured the success of something. If one mistake happens, it's a failure. And I hate that. And I was actually painting with Zach yesterday. We were painting, and he was like, this is stressful. And I was like, that's the perfectionist in you, because you're not enjoying the activity. I always tell people, this is why I don't paint more, because I stop enjoying it and I start making it like it has to be perfect. And that's not the freaking point, but like, that's not how my brain works. So I have to do what makes me happy. And at the end of the day, the end result is what's going to make me happy. Seeing it at the end of the day. So taking all those extra steps is worth it, and it is worth the stress, but I don't like putting myself through that. So I'll choose not to put myself through that, which means I don't always do the thing I want to do.
Again, the way, like, that perfectionist brain with stand up, I'll go do like a 10-minute set, and it will go great the whole time. I'll like mess up one thing, or one thing won't land how I want. Guess what I'm thinking of the entire 45-minute drive back to Newark?
That's what everybody noticed.
That one thing, not the rest of the 10 minutes that everyone was laughing and enjoying, having a good time. No, like you beat yourself up over the one that didn't work.
You have to like learn how to own the mistake, and that's what I always tried to tell myself. If it's a mistake I've made, I'm like, if I can't go back and change it, like there's really not a point in me stressing over it. But you have to let yourself, you have to validate the cringe. So you let yourself have that moment. And then like after that, you just got to be like, okay, I've worn it and now it's gone. Take the old skin, put the lotion on the new skin, or else it gets the hose again.
Recently, actually, I haven't really told anyone about this one. So I had something happen in my now almost 6 years of stand-up that, like, again, it's never happened. And I straight up came close to having a stroke over it. So 2 weekends ago, I had my very first ever private gig. I was booked to do a 45-minute set, which is quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
I hadn't done it since when I recorded my special last January. That's the last time I've done that much time.
That's a lot of prepping.
And I was coming off of a hiatus from when I got super depressed and I burned myself out on both ends. And, dad had cancer, all this shit. So like I took a 2-month break from like everything. And then I remembered, I had to go from being rusty to doing a 45-minute set. So I was like,
I can imagine that causes a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. But right off the get-go, it was a retirement gig for truckers.
Wow, what a great gig, though.
Exactly.
That's the best gig you could get after a hiatus, to be honest.
Because typically, like a corporate gig or a private
that's like
gig,
right on the money with your sense of humor, too, I feel like.
Yeah.
No offense. I don't think that was supposed to be offensive.
Nope, none taken.
I would love to make truckers laugh.
None taken, yeah. So, we're at a golf course. We're at a golf course in Hilliard. I mean, just so stupidly nice. And I mean, heck, my first 5 minutes is just talking about
a trucker retirement party.
Yes.
At a country club. What kind of truckers were they?
What's that?
What kind of truckers were they?
Hauling freight.
And they booked it at a country club?
Yeah.
Not at a truck stop or like a picnic shelter. I don't know, like the Earthworks picnic shelter.
No, they spared no expense for this guy because he was like
he
was
like
the supervisor.
Okay.
He was like the supervisor.
Well, they make money, so I mean they can afford it.
Yeah. So yeah, and I get there, and like the whole time I'm like kind of awkward too because I never done one by myself. And the girl that booked me, she even came over. She's like, "Why aren't you eating?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't put that in my contract. I didn't negotiate that in the terms." And he's like, "Eat." And I was like, "Yes, ma'am."
I needed to be told that though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna walk in there and be like, "Yeah,
I'm the same way.
the talent. Roll it out." No. I needed to know that was cool.
Yeah.
So I got to eat free prime rib, mashed potatoes, pasta salad, creme brulee, like the fucking spread. And then so I do my set, and it starts off, and I just spent like my first 5 minutes talking about how not a single one of us belongs in this room, basically. And that's where I'm doing my crowd work. I'm like, that guy looks like he bought a dress shirt today for this.
He probably did. He probably died.
Absolutely did. Yeah. I'm like,
that sounds like
I'm like looking
joke.
around. I'm like, I'm pretty sure most people in this room haven't worn a dress shirt since before COVID. And I was like, hey, so just cutting up that way alone about addressing literally reading the room with us in it. And so, I start off on fire. I start getting to my material. It's landing perfectly. There's like maybe in 45 minutes, there's like 4, not even like the big joke either, like little tag jokes that didn't land. That's it. The rest of the set, 45 minutes, crushing it. And then I do my big final joke, and that gets a big laugh. And I hit my, well, hey, that's all the time for me. Thanks for listening, Destin Richardson. If you like what you hear, grab a business card for me afterwards. Jeff, congratulations on 27 years of work. I know everyone in here is gonna miss you. Enjoy that retirement. You've earned it, buddy. Thanks again for putting up with me. Have a good night. Drive safe. God bless. And then nothing. No applause whatsoever.
Maybe they just didn't want it to be over.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, so to break down amateur comedy.
So it was just like silent, everybody looking at you?
Yes.
Like you guys couldn't have even been like having a conversation. Like they're just looking at you.
Yeah, no, I had met my time. I had met my 45 minutes. And again, so I'm like, hey.
Maybe they don't realize how a show is supposed to end for a comedian. Like they don't know. Maybe they're like, do we laugh? Do we clap? Do we cry? Do we move?
I gave you my word for word closing right there. Did that not sound pretty fine?
I would have clapped.
Thank you. Because that's the thing.
I would have clapped.
Yeah. So the world of amateur comedy, you go to an open mic. You go to a comedy open mic. You will watch comic get up there, do their 5-minute set, get no laughs or audience reaction whatsoever. And then once they step off stage, they get applause. They only get applause. So it was an anti-open mic reaction, and it fucked with my head so much.
Nobody ever explained what happened. Like you still don't know, like, because I'm confused. Even like when I evaluate that situation, I'm like, why?
45 minutes of them actively enjoying the show, laughing at everything I said,
and then not clapping,
and then them not even clapping at the end.
That would probably bother me too, because it's like, but that's the thing is like maybe and that's where I have to I always remind myself maybe that's where my mind's different than everybody else's. I'm probably over evaluating the shit out of that, but truly for me, every action that somebody does, there's a reason for it. So then that's where I start over evaluating things. And to me, there's no way they didn't know you were done. And typically when entertainment is done, you clap.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the weird thing is, and then it's not like, then my first thought I was like, wait, did I gaslight myself? Did I bomb for 45 minutes? And afterwards, like people came up to me, they actually said like, hey, you do a good job. Like one guy bought me a shot. A couple of people took my business cards. So it's like, oh no, they just forgot the part that any other audience
just
has
the
ever
validation,
done.
Just the extra validation. Yeah. That's the end.
Just that final finite moment. And again, yeah, you're right. Maybe they were just so heartbroken that they were stunned that this magical evening had to come to an end.
That's usually what I have to do is lie to myself and say things like that, because that's actually, I guess, is that gaslighting in a way? Gaslighting yourself into not being insecure? I do that all the time where I basically
gaslighting is not real.
gaslighting's not real.
No, it's not. Don't worry your pretty little head about it.
I know. I don't usually even like use that term because it's so overused.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's one of those terms that if I use too much, I'm going to start using it incorrectly.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is exactly what just happened. So
And also, a former guest on here, Caitlin Noski, she broke down that gaslighting is even using the term incorrect. Technically, you're gas lamping. And she
is it about a lamp?
Yeah, like that's she explained it to me, and even then I was just like, I mean, I love it personally. I love that that we're gaslighting, the act of gaslighting now, but
Lamp. Like as soon as you said lamp, I don't know why I went to
Anchorman,
the Brave Little Toaster.
Nice.
Is there even a lamp in there? Yeah, there's a lamp. Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah.
He's not grumpy. That's the vacuum.
Yeah. He sucks.
Who came up with that idea though? Like just a lamp, a vacuum, just all your household items are sad that you're gone. It's like Homeward Bound for your household appliances.
Right. Yeah, it's Homeward Bound meets Toy Story.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
But it's a little bit trippier and it's really unsettling when you watch it back as an adult. Have you watched The Brave Little Toaster as an adult?
I've seen The Goes to Mars, but I've not seen the original.
It's a little odd. But it's one of those you just got to watch. And I agree that way with Lamageddon too. And I'm glad you brought it up because it's a great movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you ever seen Lamageddon?
I have not.
We're going to watch it one of these days.
Okay.
That's my next movie goal with you. And also, have you seen Good Burger 2?
Also not yet. And that one I was saving for you.
My dad did the same thing.
I was saving myself
I'm like,
for you.
I'm just going to pop everybody's Good Burger 2 virginity because I'm here.
You're going to orange pop everyone's.
Oh my gosh. Orange soda. I love it. I'm actually, honestly, I feel like it did it justice for a 20-year-old reboot, more than 20-year-old reboot. But at the same time, it's one of those things like we were talking about earlier. Did it really need to be done? No. And I heard that Keenan didn't really want to do that. I heard that he was like kind of not for the project, but it was Kel who wanted to go ahead and move forward with it, which by the way, he doesn't really even technically nail the character 100%. But the storyline is written pretty well to reflect what you think Kel would be doing in 20, 25 years.
Right.
So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I actually, speaking of, I'm kind of, I mean,
friends with Keenan?
Yeah, I'll say
he's here.
He's next on the podcast, actually.
Keenan, come on out.
Actually, the last couple of weeks, we had a really nice string of like, I would organically name drop somebody and then they would be like my next guest. So like there for a hot second, I had like Marvel Cinematic Universe level of like contingency and continuity.
I love that.
We broke it, I think, with the last episode. But yeah, there was a nice little string of, we were like giving hints of who the next guest was.
Did you already know, or you just said you were manifesting that by accident?
Yeah, it was kind of by accident. Well, there was one I name dropped, and then I was like, I need to hit him up to like do this. But then, yeah, all but that one, they happened organically, and then the way we came together was organic. But anyway, back to the one I'm cautiously optimistic about is Kung Fu Panda 4. And that's
I didn't even know they were on 4.
Yeah, because they did 3 back in like 2012 or 13 maybe, and then let it sit for about a decade basically, and then they brought it back. And like the trailer, all of Kung Fu like all 3 Kung Fu Panda movies trailers were hot garbage in my opinion. Yeah. But then you watch the movie and it's like, oh no, they left a lot of the good stuff.
A trailer can really like ruin a movie or make it. Sometimes I don't even want to watch the movie because they told me too much in the trailer. Exactly. So that's where they're going with this one. Like I watched the trailer recently. It's pretty vague. You get the general gist. They still nail some of the classic kind of notes, some of the humor of it. So like I said, I have. If they're following through, because the first 2 trailers were not good, and then the movies were, so I have high hopes for 4. No, the one that made me there's 2 movies that absolutely scarred me for trailers, and that was the Steve Martin Pink Panther. I don't think I remember seeing that trailer. That's an old movie, like that was the
probably the worst offender of putting all of the best parts in the trailer. So
I hate that. That's
yeah.
like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like I will, if I watch the trailer and I'm like, I just saw the whole plot, I won't watch it because I'm
Yeah.
like, I just watched it.
Yeah, it was all the best jokes. They didn't really cover the plot that much, but yeah, they like every single one of the best jokes was in the trailer.
Yeah, that's another big pet peeve of mine too.
And then the other one was Kangaroo Jack.
I did see that movie in theaters. I
Same.
kind of don't remember the trailer, but I feel like it had to have been Ratchet because honestly, the movie was like amazing, but also low key Ratchet, like in a way.
Yeah, I remember being so hyped for it. It was myself.
What's that actor's name? Anthony something?
Anthony
Or that's
Anderson.
He's like that's when I think of him. That's what I think of him in.
Same.
He's in so many other things, and I'm like
Kangaroo Jack.
Kangaroo Jack guy.
Yeah.
Is that the only movie he's ever had like a main character role in?
Movie, I think so. Because then he was just always like a good comic relief bit part, and then I think he then landed like a recurring TV show role with Blackish.
I haven't seen that show before, but I hear good things.
Yeah, same. But yeah, that Kangaroo Jack trailer, I was like 8 or 9, and I'll name drop since since you know both of them. It was myself, Adam Todderin, and Max Frankenberry.
Okay.
We all went as a group, and we had to obviously bring our parents along because we were 9, and we get in there, and now I personally had already been privy to very adult movies before that. But the Kangaroo Jack problem was it was marketed as a kid's movie.
I do think I remember that now. And that's probably why my dad and I went to go see it together.
Yeah,
and I can only imagine now, I was probably younger than you when it came out.
Yeah.
I can only imagine now as a parent, like accompanying your kids and just being like, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and like if you watch the whole movie, I mean there's like 3 parts with the kangaroo. Well, okay, besides when they initially hit the kangaroo.
I really don't remember it that much, but I remember the part that you're talking about where he hits the kangaroo and the kangaroo is like,
yeah. So there's 3 parts total that have the kangaroo in it. And of course, that's what was put in the trailer was all the parts with the Sugar Hill Gang and all that. And then the rest of the movie, it's this like action thriller, like drug movie.
They were doing drugs.
Yeah, because the envelope, Anthony Anderson, he was a drug dealer in that movie. And then it was a classic like mix up, and then that drug envelope was in the hoodie for the kangaroo.
Oh yeah.
So then they had to chase down this kangaroo to get the drugs to give to this guy, who in turn was then just going to shoot them. Because
yes, I kind of remember now. I need to watch it again. I feel like I did rewatch it as an adult a few years ago, but honestly, I don't even know that I finished it because it was one of those movies that I was like, the CGI was like one of those.
Oh yeah. And like it looks like the kangaroo was like almost vomited onto the screen, like because again, it didn't belong. The kangaroo didn't belong in this movie.
Have you ever seen Catz the musical?
Not yet, because I have a feeling how I know I'm gonna appreciate it, and yeah.
I've been saying so. I said the same thing my whole life. And I thought it was weird considering I was like a theater kid and considering I love Catz and I grew up with Catz. Why have I never seen Catz the musical?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because I always knew it was just going to be people as cats dressed up as cats singing. And as much as I love Catz, I don't know how that can be good.
Yeah, same.
So I recently, for the first time ever, Ronell and I tried to watch Catz the musical, but the new one, not the original.
Right.
So I don't know if we went wrong there. We probably did. I don't know that it would have mattered, but we started to watch the new one because it just came out on Netflix, and we didn't make it all the way through, unfortunately. But the CGI, this movie was made in like 2017, 2016.
Right.
The CGI is like Kangaroo Jack level bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad that like, please watch it and don't look at their legs actually look at their legs for too long. If you look at their legs for too long, it starts like tripping you out a little bit. And I was like, I don't know what a jellicle cat is. I don't know what they're talking about. They did Jennifer Hudson dirty in that. They did her dirty. And also, I think that what it is for me, and I realized that I think that it's just there's something sad and demoralizing about seeing people on all fours dressed up as cats walking around. Like
Yeah.
when you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds sad. But when you see it, it's just like you can't take it seriously because people aren't meant to walk around like that. So when you
Right.
see it, it's like they did them dirty.
Yeah.
But they couldn't even put them in costumes. They all have CGI,
Yeah.
and it's terrible. Now, I don't like Taylor Swift, but her part was fine. I think that's as far as we got. I said, we'll get to the Taylor Swift part, and I'm not even a Swiftie.
I forget she was in that.
Well, she loves cats, you know.
Of course.
That's honestly the part about Taylor Swift that's relatable for me. Like, me and Zach were talking about this recently. What is it about Taylor Swift for us that like we don't get with? And he said, you know what I think it is? He's like, I just don't think that Taylor would hit the blunt. And he's like, you know who would hit the blunt? Her friend Selena.
Absolutely.
And she would. And so I was like, that's such a good, valid point. And I think that that's what it is for me is it's not relatable. When somebody's like too squeaky clean, it's almost not relatable for me. I need somebody with a little bit of grit to them.
A little bit of an edge.
You don't need to be a nasty, dirty hoe. I like it better if you are, but like, because then that's like a different part of me that I'm like, I want to maximize, but at the same time, I don't. I'm like a classy ratchet, but mostly classy, but like,
you want to know that they can serve if they want.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing is I want somebody who's got a little bit of grit. I can't have somebody if you're too squeaky clean, then I feel like it's not relatable. And I once had a 3-year relationship with somebody. And the reason why I think it ended is because I ended it. It was because I didn't feel like I could relate to that person. They came from money. They came from a good background. They didn't have any traumas or anything like that. So when it came to my internal stuff, they didn't know what to do and then I got frustrated with them and resented them because you're never going to know what it's like to struggle with these things and you never will know. And honestly, I think it was for the best anyways, because they found God now and they are just living their best life. And I'm not that. So they would have been like, she's ratchet. No. Probably not. But but that's what I always tell myself is that like I just like a little bit of grit. If somebody has a traumatizing backstory, I like, especially if I don't know. If you hide it well and you like bounce back from your trauma. Now, if you're wearing it, then it's like a whole thing. I don't respect that.
Yeah.
But somebody who like owns the trauma and can joke about the trauma or like just move past it, it's like that's something I respect.
Right. So unlike the rest of the world, I pretty much only started respecting T Swift because of what she's doing for Kelsey in the NFL. And I'm not even a football guy. But like why are you giving her shit? She is one of the most successful might even be the most successful musician.
Truly.
She's doing a world tour and she's still flying back to see her boyfriend.
And getting ready to release a new album.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's on top of her game right now, and she's still
and she has all the resources in the world to be able to make those things happen.
Yeah, the private jet helps, but there's still the fact that she's actively one of the busiest women in the world, and still making time for the boyfriend. So she's a good partner in that regards. And obviously, the joke is that she can't keep him. She's a all that.
Well, it's old tired at this point.
Yeah. Now, what I kind of respect the most is, again, given Taylor's very extensive dating life by this point that most of us know about, it's always actors because so people relate to T Swift because the whole story of like the girl that like was overlooked in high school and whatnot, and then found her way and is proving her high school haters wrong. Basically, that's a lot of what people gravitate towards her for. And so she's like, I'm gonna flex on all you haters. I'm gonna date these famous actors because those are some of the biggest names in today's society is the actors. And I love that she started dating Kelsey because she finally acknowledged like, it's not enough because I'm just dating famous theater nerds. I need to go for the jock and finally put the finisher on my haters. So she did. After 2 decades now, she finally is dating the football star.
It's surprising
It's
because you wouldn't think it.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, but no, and again, bringing the fact that she brought all the viewership, and honestly, like I watched the Super Bowl yesterday, and I mean, they showed her, I don't know, 15, 20 times.
Yeah.
But like it was for like 5 seconds at most.
Yeah. I had a family member, my dad told me about this family member, said they were boycotting the Super Bowl specifically because of that. And I said, there's truly not a person on this earth that bothers me enough that I wouldn't watch something I wanted to watch because of them. Like, I can't think of a single person who I would hate enough that I would not watch something that I originally would have planned to watch.
Right.
But now that that person's going to be shown for a little bit of it, I'm not watching it. I'm boycotting it. What is that? First off, the amount of viewers that are being brought to that versus the one or two minuscule portion of insecure men that are not doing it. It doesn't break even, because the thing about the Taylor Swift fandom is they like merch and they will buy whatever they're rich also.
Yes.
So they'll buy. So like I've heard.
The amount of Travis Kelce jerseys that have been bought in like the last couple months is like, I think he's almost the highest. He might be the highest selling now by this point.
She has boosted his career.
Yeah.
And it is funny to see. It's kind of funny to see how many like people who are now watching football that are not watching it for football. They're just like, we just love Travis Kelce. One of my best friends who's a Swiftie, she's like, oh yeah, Mama Kelsey, she's chill. She's whatever. I'm like, why do you know their whole family?
Right.
Why are you like, that's weird. That y'all with your bracelets and stuff like it gets to a point where it is like a little bit culty, but like it's like one of those things that doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. I'm not gonna stop what I'm doing because Taylor Swift's killing the game. Do I listen to her music? No. Yeah. And do I hate her? No. Like if she would hit the blunt, I would hit the blunt with her. Right. But like, would I like hang out with her in a normal scenario? Yeah. But like, she's definitely not somebody that I relate to personally. So I get why people like her though, because she's not like a lot of females in the industry who are kind of, and I don't hate against this, but more naughty, provocative, shaking ass and whatnot.
Right.
But that's not really her message. And a lot of people respect that.
Right.
I don't care one way or another. I'm more about the music. I like a good beat, but I feel like I get sleepy when I listen to like a lot of the softer music.
Right.
That's just me though.
Oh, hey, you're talking to someone that listens to mostly death metal gangster rap. So I understand. I get quite sleepy too.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself hype.
Right. I actually, so one of the last DJ DZ Sweets sets was just a mashup of Kanye and Taylor, of just Kanye constantly interrupting Taylor.
Did you see Jay-Z?
Yes. Yeah, I remember it was 2 years ago. It was 2022 Super Bowl, because that was the one that it was like the all like rap hip hop show. It was Dr. Dre, Eminem, all that. And it's one of those like, and then they pan to Jay-Z and Kanye in the crowd. And like, first off, they have to be just a faint bit salty that they're not up there.
Yeah.
But like, it was one of those, like the looks on their face, like you could see that. But then like with Jay-Z, he also, he looked like he's just like, man, I wish the Jets and the Giants didn't suck. And then Kanye, the look on his face also said, I can't believe Pete Davidson's fucking my wife.
Was that at that time? I can't believe it's already been 2 years.
It has been 2 years since then. Yeah.
That whole thing, there's a conspiracy theory that Kanye and Bianca, there's a humiliation ritual going on there. And that's why and I believe it, because like when you look at all, like the most recent thing that really sold it for me was the pillow thing. I don't know if you saw that, like he made her walk around barefoot with a pillow. And it was like the weirdest thing, but like, no, that's not a model. That wasn't like her just being like, oh, I'm hot shit. This is fashion. Balenciaga. No, that was like, that's a humiliation. Message, and they were saying that was like what happened with the thing on the boat and things like that. And now I'm like, should we rescue her?
Yeah.
Do you know who Julia Fox is? She's like, honestly, I can't even describe who she is because she doesn't really do anything, but she dated Kanye, and I think she's an influencer or whatever, but maybe she's like maybe consider her a feminist. I don't know. I don't really even know what she's considered,
Third
but she's a
wave-
girl who
third wave feminist.
feminist is
Yeah.
probably a good term. And she dated Kanye, and she said that things started to get really, really weird, and that she had to like sign a lot of contracts, and he wanted her to be property and things like that. So I believe it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that Kim probably had to face the same thing. So, but the Kardashians, they're wild. I actually don't hate them as much as I used to.
Also same.
It's like the Taylor Swift thing. Like
I
over
don't
time,
hate Taylor Swift either.
they're
I don't
people.
hate. I almost don't hate. I don't think I hate anybody.
they're people.
Yeah.
They got, I think that if we all had the same money and privileges, we'd probably be doing similar things.
Oh, full send, 100%. Like, yeah, I would behave a little differently if I had.
I'd probably
that
be
much
doing
money
less
power.
than Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
With like, I feel like she's gotten people to vote and things like that. So I acknowledge the good she's done. I just,
Yeah.
the hype. In a way, it's like I'm almost in a way jealous because it's like, how? I don't understand, but I think it's the loyalness of the following.
Right.
So hopefully she doesn't do anything and say anything that'll cancel her, like the Dixie Chicks or Matt Rife.
Right. Or Destin Richardson will in the next like year or so.
Just don't let them take your bit about the teeth, because that's gold.
Right.
That might make you a lot of money someday.
That's brown gold.
You're gonna be like, a guy told me not to do this, but
Right.
this is my biggest moneymaker.
Yeah, that one, and then the bit that my therapist, like, even he almost said like, "Hey, I don't ever want to hear you talk about this subject again." I actually made a therapist quit once.
Are you sure?
That's my that's my peaking moment right there.
Are you sure that you almost made him quit, or is this your interpretation of what happened?
He quit pretty much right after my last session with him. So
that was what did it.
So I'm taking the credit. I'm pulling an ISIS on this one. I'm like, nope, this was me. This was me.
Not ISIS. Why are they being brought in?
Because like they like no matter what happened, if it was like some massive thing, ISIS would be like, yeah, we did this. And they're like, no, you didn't. It's like, shut up. Yes, we are. We're taking credit for it. You know, it's one of those things.
You should take credit for it.
Yeah. But yeah, on the ISIS note, I think we should.
We're now recruiting. That's what this is actually about.
I'll say, yep. I'll say, join us or else quit while you're ahead.
Do you have a wrap up? How do you do? What do you?
I don't have like a regular scripted one. Usually just it has a nice fizzle out organically. Yeah, I'm all about organic.
Do you eat organic?
Oh, absolutely not. No,
no, me either.
Yeah.
I've been told that organic doesn't actually mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
I took a food science class and they were like, organic isn't really organic, and also GMO isn't a bad thing. And I was like, okay. So I took it. Yeah. I'm not afraid of no GMOs. If they're going to genetically modify my watermelon to not have seeds, then why would I argue about that?
Right.
If you're going to genetically modify children to be less ugly, why would I be upset about that?
Yeah.
I don't know that they're doing that. But
I was like, yeah, if actually, fun fact, I did read that here lately, Brussels sprouts have made a comeback, like on like a lot of like gastropub menus, and the reason is because they finally were able to genetically modify Brussels sprouts to not taste as bad.
I thought it was just because they were everybody's cooking them differently, because I think that
helps too. But like scientists literally finally like were able to isolate like the part that people didn't like, and the thing is they're less bitter now.
Okay.
Like Brussels sprouts are less bitter, so like people that were turned off by that, and then yes, when you fry anything up in a whole bunch of butter and like bacon and yeah, all that, it's better. But
I never had tried them before that in the past. I never, because I was a really picky child growing up, and it wasn't until I was like an adult that I wanted to try new foods. I actually didn't try Brussels sprouts until like 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And of course it was in the sauteed fashion. It was like olive oil and things like that. But
like it's on like a little personal, like mini iron skillet or something like that.
Well, yeah, Rondell had made them. He just, I think he flash fried them in some just normal vegetable oil, I think. And I think he may have put some breadcrumbs on him or something, but either way, I tried them after that, and I was like, I love Brussels sprouts. But my dad, he's like, oh, they're gross. But I was like, have you had them sauteed? And he said, no, just boiled. And most people have only had them boiled.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't taste as good.
Right.
But I think Brussels sprouts now. So I actually do have a Brussels sprout story. It didn't need to go this far, but it did. And one time, it was when I had COVID.
Yeah.
And my stepdad was like, "What do you need me to bring you anything?" And I said, "Brussels sprouts." And I always just bought the ones that were in the bag that are already like cut. And I didn't know that they come on a stalk. So he brings me the groceries and he hands me something that's like this big. And it's a stalk of Brussels sprouts. I'm like, first off, why did I need a meter stick of them?
Right.
And secondly, how am I supposed to eat all this? And also, I didn't know that they came like this. So how do I attempt from here? Do they come on a tree? Do they come on a plant?
I don't even know.
Now I have to know.
Yeah.
There was something I was going to say.
I literally just thought that Brussels sprouts were like the veal of cabbage. Like they were just cabbage that they just like plucked like a month or two before they grew or something like that.
It looks like they grow in bushels on little
wow.
stalks.
Yeah.
Would you call that a stalk?
Those look trippy. Like if I hit the blunt with Taylor and then I saw Brussels sprouts,
I'd be like, that's weed.
Yeah.
You're growing weed. And they'd be like, no, that's Brussels sprouts.
Taylor hits the Brussels sprouts.
She does, for sure.
Yeah.
She looks like she would like say she's vegan, but like not actually be vegan. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I swear I was going to say something before we went on the Brussels sprout tangent, and now I cannot remember for the life of me.
Yeah, I can remember. Yeah, you were just like,
Isis.
I got this Brussels sprout story. Yeah, Isis and Brussels sprouts.
Mm-hmm. It was before you went on the Brussels sprout tangent.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Well, might remember after the mics are off.
We'll hit it with the edit.
Hard edit there.
Hit it with the edit.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming out. Thanks for talking. And so go ahead and let people know where they can hear you and where they can find you.
Heck yeah. So you can hear me on the air, T100.3 HD. I'm on the middays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can tune in. You can stream it on WCLT.com, or you can just hit me up on the socials, Instagram, KDills with 2 S's, and Facebook, Kelsey Faith. Don't be a creeper.
I'll say, don't be a creeper, because that's my job.
Don't be a creeper, because I will question it, and I'll hit you with some awkward questions that you won't be ready for, and then you'll block me because I won't have fished. That happened once.
Oh, I believe it. Well, so thank you again for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe, do all that. And February, or actually, wait, no, this will be out before that. February 24th and also March 25th, doing 2 shows in Newark at the Meraki. I need to ask him how to pronounce it.
The Meraki.
35 West Church Street. There you go. Just plug it in GPS. It'll take you there. Doing 2 shows. The first one being my 6-year stand-up anniversary show. I got one of the kings of comedy on headlining. You got the king of Newark comedy hosting it. And then March 25th also is a show, same place. This one's the day after my mom's birthday. So I got all of my mom's favorite comics. I was not on the list. I had to remind her, by the way, I'm going to be on this show, just so you know.
Wait, on her list of favorite comics?
Yeah, of the comics I work with, I got 3 of her favorites. And then and I was like, and I'm going to be on the show. It's like, can't you get someone else to? No, she didn't say that.
You are her favorite, though.
I
subconsciously.
No, actually, no. I am her 3rd favorite.
If you you have a show where nobody laughs, you just hear your mom in the back, and you're like, "That's the real one."
Yeah. Oh no, my mom says front center.
I love that.
My mom says front center, and again, and she's not a big laugher. Like at most, she'll grin occasionally. You can see her lightly chuckle. It's very rare that someone makes her laugh out loud. And 2 of the comics that have done that are Ro the Realist and Xavier G. Dunson, and they're the ones on that March show. So come check that out. And all right.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.